Hi guys, John Pickard here. Today I want to talk about this amazing Guitarpa, as it's known, built in 1849 by Snr Jose Gallegos. If you're a harp guitar fan, you will have seen a picture of this, I'm quite sure. It's all over the front page of harpguitars.net, and it's become legendary over the years. But it's just the most unique and fascinating and complex instrument of its time, frankly. So it's nearly 180 years old, and the craftsmanship on this thing is just incredible. Anyway, it came up for sale recently at an auction quite close to where I live. So I was so fortunate enough to be able to go along and have a look at the instrument just the day before it sold, as it happens, when I went along there. And I'm one of the very, very few harp guitarists who's ever got to see it in the flesh. I walked into the room, I was shown to this. Here you can see me opening up the case, and my first glimpse at this rare miracle. Now I should explain, I'm no expert on anything really. I'm just someone who loves playing harp guitars. I've designed two quite complicated harp guitars and heavily modified a third. What I'm saying is I have a certain appreciation for some of the challenges and some of the wishes that Snr Gallegos would have had and faced as he built this miraculous work of art. So on the day, all I had was a couple of minutes with the instrument, and I was under a bit of time pressure. I was being scrutinised, watched like a hawk by the sales assistant, because we knew that this instrument was going to sell. The starting bid was £30,000, so I was holding a really precious piece of history in my hands, and they were a bit nervous about allowing me to do so. I know, before you say it, I should have worn gloves. I had intended to take some white gloves with me on the day, but I had a busy morning before I get there, and I was in a bit of a rush, and I plumb forgot to take them. So I washed my hands first before I touched it, being as careful as I could. And I hope the new owner can forgive me, but I was as respectful as I could be with this wonderful work of art. But I didn't get time to really examine it in full detail, or to take all the photographs and videos that I would have liked to, had I had more time. Now, anyone who's actually picked up a complicated harp guitar that doesn't belong to them and looked at it, anyone who's done that will probably tell you that afterwards they didn't really take in much of the detail. All of the detail on a complicated instrument is really quite hard to take in, because you just see the whole thing and you're in awe of this thing. And I was certainly absolutely in awe of this moment where I get to hold this legendary guitar before I had to put it away again and see it sold to some other person. But I certainly didn't get all the detail that I wanted to get, and there's a lot of mysteries involved in this. I would have loved to be able to take it home or just live with it for a little while to really kind of unravel some of the mysteries that even experts like Gregg have got many questions that it's a bit hard to tell from the photographs. So hopefully, I really hope the new owner will make it available to those who care to see it, possibly even restore it. It seemed to me like it could be restored. It was in pretty good condition. Anyway, that's for the future. So I just wanted to give you this quick impression, and as much detail as I'm able to give, of this incredible instrument. So here we go. As I opened the case, the first thing that flashed through my mind that really struck my eye was the level of artistic detail. Just look at the effort he's gone to every single part of the instrument to make it stylish and beautiful. I guess that's just a sign of what those times were like, but look at the little loops there on the tailpiece, and the inlays there on the soundboard, and the details on the rosette, the little petals around the screws. Just, I mean, I can't possibly point it all out at once, but as you go through the video, just keep an eye out for every single aspect. Every part of the instrument has got parts of it which have not been left bare to the eye. They've been styled. They've had nice curvy lines put on. They've had inlays put in everywhere. It's bling city, isn't it? It's all over the place. But it's just done so well with such love and care. So that's the first thing which really struck me. And the other thing that struck me really was how small and compact it all is, considering that there's possibly up to 39 strings on this thing. It's really quite a small bodied instrument, very, very cleverly designed to fit it all into such a small space. It was designed for a woman to play, and maybe that's to do with it. Maybe its size is to do with that, but it was very small and compact. So I'm just going to rewind and focus on one area of the instrument at a time, starting with this bit down here. Check this out. I found it a bit strange that the strings go over the back part of the bridge here where the arrow is, and as it goes forward it goes underneath, well, through a hole in the forwardmost bridge. Therefore the vibration of the string is going to be pulling the bridge up. The energy of the string rather is going to be pulling the bridge up and down rather than down and up. Apparently that's been used a lot on lots of other guitars, but I'd never seen that before, so that was one remarkable thing. And it does that on all the strings you can see in this picture, except for this one, of course, which has been broken obviously and then quickly tied on by who knows who. Next thing to mention really, I suppose, is this decorative stuff here on the soundboard. I can only imagine that's, it's not going to help the sound, is it? It's extra weight on the soundboard. It looks nice, but it's a bit of excessive and it probably inhibits the sound, but it certainly looks nice. And I suppose it was intended for a duke's wife, so for royalty. So, bling goes a long way, I should think, with that kind of market and that kind of customer, doesn't it? Next, I just want to say, look at the precision that he's done those shapes on the tailpiece, all those curves. Absolutely beautiful, really, really stunning detail. And you can't really see from this angle, but it's the tailpiece is actually spring mounted where it fits to the body underneath where the end screws there. Perhaps we'll see a picture of that later on. I'll point it out if we do later. So moving on now to this area which really interests me, the super trebles, if you like. 26 strings, looks like it's chromatic. You can see there the strings are labelled with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, etc. Some really complicated mechanisms for sharping. I can't really get my head around exactly how they work or what the intention was. I mean, look at all those knobs and buttons. So I don't know if you can see from this clip or not, but the super treble strings are actually on two different planes. They've got upper strings and lower strings. The lower strings are the sharps and flats, the black notes, as it were, like you'd have on a piano. Apparently this gets done sometimes on chromatic banduras from Ukraine and some harps as well. But I've never seen it on a harp guitar before. It's not very clear on the video, but maybe you can see if I play this bit back and forwards, look. See how some are higher and some are lower? Must be very difficult to play. To reach in there to get those lower strings, but possible. And you can see here clearly the holes coming through the super treble bridge. Yeah, the upper course and the lower course of strings there, which I'd only noticed looking back on the video. And here's something interesting. If you look carefully at the sharpening devices, I was brave enough to just try moving one of them to see how they worked. And look at this, as you engage it, it engages both the upper string and the lower string, sharpening or flattening or naturalizing both strings, which is a strange idea. Look at that. Both strings are getting attached, connected by that movement. I'm not sure why you'd need that function, to be honest. Why would you need to sharpen or flatten two chromatic notes identically together? It's a bit of a mystery, that one. Maybe someone's got some ideas on that. And there was just enough tension on one of those strings to give it a little pluck. Most of the strings are completely detuned, but this one was still there. So if you listen very carefully, you'll hear the only note that I know of ever recorded on this instrument. Here it is now. One thing to notice here is that you've got these bits which move, these sharpening mechanisms which I mentioned, but you've also got these up here which all appear to be labelled with an N. And they all look like they're possible moving parts as well. I didn't actually put my finger on those and try it. It's one of those many details I didn't actually get really time to look at. But what do we think these bits here were for? Your guess is as good as mine, or maybe you know. If you know, please let me know. Just before moving on, notice this cylindrical shape object here and wondering what that might be. First of all, notice the detail on it again. It's all inlaid with what looks like mother of pearl or something. And those little diamond shapes around it and the nice curvy lines, so ornately done. And what is it anyway? What it actually is a removable zither key for the zither pins. So having zither pins makes the tuners much smaller, and if you have a key there that you can fasten to the instrument, then it makes it very difficult to lose your zither key. Very practical. Just look at the level of detail on this name plaque. Imagine making that fine-tuned detail he's given into that. And that little scroll there, all very decorative. Anyway, let's move on up to the sub-bass arm and look at this in more detail. I just love the way he's designed this last tuner for the longest string. Looks like part of the scroll. It was quite a surprise to touch it and realise that it's like a key, and that's actually how you tune it, and it works. So there's something of a mystery here, because at the moment there are 3 strings on this bass neck, sub-bass if you like, neck. But if you look closely here at the nut at the end, there are some grooves for extra strings. So it looks like these 2 strings were possibly double coursed, or intended to be double coursed once upon a time. If you look at the tuning pegs on this side, you've got more tuning pegs than you need. You've got 6 tuning pegs here and a 7th at the top. Why do you need 7 tuning pegs for 3 strings, or possibly 5 strings? It looks like 2 of them might have just been to balance the decoration, or they could have just been left off, or maybe he was playing with ideas and built one thing and then changed his mind and didn't want to have to rebuild the entire head. We'll never know, I suppose. Once again, look at the level of detail on the back of these tuning pegs, and just amazing. So up by the nut, he's labelled it with Re and La, these 2 strings, Re and La, which I'm taking to mean D and A, respectively, the highest pitch being D, then A, and the third one, which is just out of shot here, is also Re. So D-A-D on those tuning of those. Notice that he's got a really clever mechanism of fretting semitones, giving you a perfect 5th from the nut upwards. And these clever little devices here, I was brave enough to have a little twiddle with. And if you look at how this works here, the knob at the top pushes the string sideways and presumably would have held it firm enough to fret the note cleanly. The day when I tried it, this mechanism was quite loose, and I couldn't really see how it would be strong enough to hold any tension at all. But maybe with the screw a bit more tightened, it would have worked. It didn't seem to use the fret though, strangely. Notice how the movement of the device goes underneath the string. It doesn't pinch it down from above, which is quite surprising. But I'm sure he knew what he was doing, and it must have worked in some way back in the day. So let's have a look at the main tuning head. You can see basically 8 strings. It's a 6-course instrument with 2 of them being doubles. You can see the bass strings there being double course, and the 4 treble strings being single course. Presumably normal tuning, I don't know, everything was slackened off. Currently 1 string broken on this, as you can see, but clearly functional. But again, look at the detail, look at all the engraving and the inlaying and the symbolism, the crown and the shaping of the inside part of the head, and the lines going all the way around it. It's just the detail he's gone to is just amazing, incredible. At first glance, the neck looked pretty straight and stable, and the frets are in, salvageable condition. Who knows when you tighten it up how it would play, but it looks perfectly salvageable to me, to my untrained eye. Again, really, really exquisitely beautiful detail on those tuning pegs. I mean, you could just leave a tuning peg blank, couldn't you? It's only functional and it's at the back of the instrument. No one's going to see it, but he's really gone above and beyond the call to make it look completely blinged up. Totally, it's a guitar fit for royalty, like it says. Notice too that we've got this rod going through the back of the head. I don't know if this was a common thing on guitars from that period or not, but maybe it started to move and he had to secure it, but he's drilled through the top of the head there and fixed this metal rod there at the top by the heel. The back of the instrument's pretty cool. I'm not sure what the wood is, but it looks like it's carved out of a single piece. Nicely bowled and shaped at the back, as you can see on the photo. Really comfortable to sit on the leg. It's got these 2 little cutaways, one for the leg and one for the pin to hold it on the stand, which I'll come on to next. I'm not sure what these 2 rods really are strengthening. Obviously they're trying to strengthen something, but I'm not sure there's any tension on that part of the instrument. Perhaps Alethea can put me right on that, but they're there anyway. The stand's a work of art in itself, of course. Beautifully sturdy and solid feeling, really nice quality piece of furniture. An ingenious design. It's adjustable upwards and outwards, I believe, horizontally and vertically. It holds the guitar in place with the 3 pins, 2 in the base and 1 further up. And it's quite low, so presumably it's only designed for sitting rather than standing. I shouldn't think it goes high enough to stand, but who knows. Again, I didn't play with it, I just looked at it and admired it. So I hope you found that entertaining and interesting. I just feel truly honoured and so lucky to have actually held this thing in my hands, and I would love to see it again one day, fully tuned up, fully restored, fully working and playable. Wouldn't that be something? I guess we can dream, right? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll sign off now. Take care.